I'm impressed. A lot of us are. We could use you.
For what?
You want to join the resistance?
Welcome back, everybody. We are here to break down Gen V Season 2, the finale, Episode 8, titled The Guardians of Gdokulken. In this episode, we see Thomas Gdokulken is officially back and his grand plans come to light. Meanwhile, the student rankings are reset and now every student has a chance to be in the top 10, but at what cost? Man, we got a lot to discuss about this finale, so let's break it all down. Full spoilers ahead. We open this finale with a flashback taking us back to 1967, where we open the season with Project Odessa. We watch as Gdokulken wakes up long enough to inject himself with V1 as it's working on him, as we see its effects hitting his face and his neck. It's not killing him like the other ones did, but as it's fully entered his body, he gets engulfed by the flames. Now we cut back to present day where we find Doug throwing up on Polarity's carpet. It's here we learn that the reason Gdokulken didn't age is because he took V1, which is the same V Stormfront and Soldier Boy took. Now, speaking of Stormfront and Soldier Boy, I would bet despite what happens to Gdokulken at the end of this episode, he'll most likely be involved in the prequel series Vought Rising in some capacity. Now, as I predicted, Doug tells them that he was Gdokulken's second puppet after being controlled and having to kill a Dr. Fielder who served as Gdokulken's first puppet. Doug was taken by Gdokulken back in 1996 and he didn't have much family left, so he made for an easy target because nobody would be looking for him. Now we watch as Marie tries to use her powers to heal Doug, but her tank's on empty after healing Gdokulken. Now, the million-dollar question that's been on my mind for the last few weeks gets brought up in this scene, as Annabeth says, why didn't Gdokulken just mind control Marie weeks ago? And here's where another one of my predictions comes to light, as I predicted weeks ago. He wasn't able to control Marie because she's too powerful. Project Odessa is her superpower shield, and Gdokulken couldn't touch her with his mind control manipulation. Man, shout out to Doug, and again, shout out to Hamish, as we see Doug is grateful for what they did for helping him get out of the control of Gdokulken, but we see that Doug is in pretty rough shape. As Polarity will take him to a friend to be looked at, meanwhile the rest of the crew heads back to the campus to lay low. Now I want to bring up a nitpick that I had early on this episode based on the last scene from the previous episode where we saw Gdokulken walking in the field. I assumed that he was going to start his plan to eliminating the weak soups by saying who's next at the end of the episode, but we didn't see him continue that plan. Instead, we cut to Gdokulken eating everything that he can get his hands on, including Sister Sage. Now, it's not really explained where they are exactly in God U, but it turns out that everything this season, from Starlight finding the Odessa file to Marie being sent back to God U, this was all orchestrated by Sage. She's always been playing the long game. Now, Sister Sage, or as he calls her, Jessica, invites Gdokulken to live with her in her apartment in the tower. Now we watch as he accepts her invite to live with her, and man, talk about a power couple and a terrifying one. But first, this power couple has to figure out a way how to introduce Gdokulken to Homelander, that way he doesn't feel threatened. But before they get to that stage, we see Gdokulken tell Sage that he has one more class to teach. Despite having a lot of work to do, he's still got something important to do back at God U. Now, something I was hoping to learn more in depth in this finale, and I was dying to know, how did Sage and Gdokulken first meet? How long have they been exactly working together, and when did their professional relationship turn personal? Hopefully we get some flashbacks or hints of this in season 5 of The Boys, because I would imagine Homelander will inevitably ask why he wasn't told about Gdokulken's survival. Now, another thing I want to mention because I believe it's important to their relationship. Now, something that we know from Gdokulken's past is that he and Frederick Vought were pals. They bonded by their shared white supremacist views, which we saw earlier in this season with that hidden room. With that being said, this makes his inevitable fall for a black woman in Sage a really complex and frankly interesting story. How does a man with those deeply ingrained beliefs fall for someone so contradictory to his ideology? Again, I was hoping to get more insight on that, but again, maybe Vought Rising or season 5 of The Boys will explain all this. Now back in the call with Polarity, Doug shares how much Andre pissed off Gdokulken when he was at Elmira, as he mentions how great of a person Andre was. Now hearing these nice stories about how his son was versus how Gdokulken would consistently say how weak he was, this puts a smile on Polarity's face and makes him laugh with joy hearing this. But unfortunately, this joyous moment is cut short, literally cut, as Doug is stabbed in the gut and killed by Black Noir. Was it me, or did this scene remind anyone else of the scene of Captain America Winter Soldier on the highway when he came out of nowhere? As we watch as Noir takes a selfie with Polarity as he's knocked out. Now later in this episode, we find out that Noir is a big fan of Polarity as an actor, which explains why he took that photo with his favorite actor. Now meanwhile on campus, Marie's admitting that she let Gdokulken's Chosen One BS get to her head, clouding her judgment, which led to her not thinking logically and healing Gdokulken back to his full strength. Now, Emma lifts her spirits by reminding her that they have each other to lean on when times are tough, as they have this now new developed, messed up little chosen found family as we watch them share a hug that actually includes Kate. And here's where we get the beautiful resolution for Kate's arc. After nobly declining to get her powers back for destructive purposes against her friends, we see Marie offers a genuine apology, and in a massive step forward, she heals Kate, restoring her powers. Kate's redemption arc is now complete. She's back in the fold, and honestly, I'm here for it. Meanwhile, Gdokulken uses modern technology to make his announcement that he is back by going live. We see the students across the campus glued to their screens as Gdokulken declares that he's ready to right the wrongs of the campus. He's resetting the ranking system to 0 and opening up his advanced seminar to everyone, making the path to the top 10 and a spot in the 7 wide open. Sounds great, right? Now here's another nitpick that I have about this episode. Gdokulken, one of Vought's most important figures and one of the most important figures in this universe, back from the dead using modern technology, and no one from Vought, not even Homelander, shows up to find him immediately after he went live. And the media, you would assume that the campus would be swarming with them because of his return from seamlessly being back from the dead after missing for decades. And on that note, this is where I felt the stakes didn't really feel as high as the episode intended in my eyes. This middle portion of the episode felt a little discombobulated and a little lackadaisical. Now we watch the team has to come up with a way to prevent the students from going to his class, because this is obviously a trap by Gdokulken's methods of eliminating the weak soups, as we see Marie makes her own live to warn the students not to go because again, Gdokulken can't be trusted. Meanwhile, we watch as Sam and Emma head to his frat to stop them from falling into the trap as well. But we see Rufus doesn't listen and he roofies them and he goes anyway. Honestly, the whole Sam joins the frat subplot has felt a bit forgotten and unnecessary to me all season long. To me, the main purpose seemed to be setting up the Deep's cameo back in the earlier part of the season, and for the student Black Hole to do what he does later in this episode. Now back at Gdokulken's special seminar, we watch him deliver a lecture. He talks about the soup's potential, but he also mentions the embarrassment at their mediocrity. All while he's discussing this, we see Sage looks utterly disappointed as she gets a call from Homelander, but she ignores it. As we see, Gdokulken lays down the rules. To pass, they must stop him from pushing a button on the other side of the room by any means necessary. Again, the look on Sage's face says it all. She's not a fan of this plan, as we watch the students start brutally fighting each other under Gdokulken's control. Now we see Gdokulken visibly overworking himself, but he still manages to hit the button. Now this shows that his powers do have limits, something that he later confesses to Sage, as he tells her that he's only ever been able to control 2 people at once, but he pushed himself to control all the students. Now the question is, why? As he tells her he's using his own studies on pushing himself to finally controlling Marie. Because if he can control one Odessa baby, he can control another, that one being Homelander. Now this is where Gdokulken makes an audible on their plans on phase 2 that needs Homelander a part of it, but Gdokulken believes his plan is better. Now Sage is realizing that he's completely abandoning their years of planning and basically knows it's over between them, as he makes the wounded students start to get up and dance under his control. Okay, I have to call this out. From everything we've seen and learned about Sage so far in the last season of The Boys and this TV show, she's always 100 steps ahead of anyone she comes across, and I also remind you all, her superpower is being the world's smartest person. You're telling me that the world's smartest person didn't have a contingency plan for this exact scenario? It's just hard for me to believe, and if I'm being honest, it feels like poor writing. Dumbing down a character for the plot is a major problem I have with any storytelling, especially in the comic book media. It's unfortunate, especially when the dynamic between Sage and Gdokulken was so compelling. I just felt this payoff felt underwhelming and, quite frankly, generic. Now, amidst the chaos, a panicked student made it out of the seminar screaming that Gdokulken is killing everybody. This leads to Marie finally remembering Polarity's warning about the herd. She has to save them. As Marie apologizes to Jordan for bailing on them twice, we see Jordan forgives her, but they also break up with her as they just want to be friends. Now, they don't get much time to discuss what just happened as Annabeth and the others arrive and they have an idea what they could do to stop Gdokulken. Now, let's talk about this breakup moment for a second. I think we all knew that the breakup was inevitable. And look, I don't blame Jordan for making the decision because Marie be switching up more than Jordan using their powers, but is it me or did it feel kind of tacked on to this episode? Now, obviously, they have much bigger things to take care of in this episode, but the moment itself could have had more time and room to actually breathe. Now, meanwhile, we catch up with Polarity, who's being held hostage by Black Noir. Now, Noir, again, apparently is a film buff and is gushing about Polarity's old movies and how much he hates the sequels. As we see, Sage enters the room, and after being left disappointed by her ex now, she begins taking it out on Polarity. She brings up how much more powerful he was when he was sick. Then she takes a low blow by mentioning his deceased wife and son, telling him that it's just a matter of time before he dies as well. Now, as she leaves the room, he notices the door wasn't locked as he makes his escape. Now, back in the training room, it's a bloodbath. Students are either dead or badly wounded. Now, as the next wave of students enter the room, this is the moment I believe we all been waiting for as Kate uses her powers normally again. She makes the guy controlling the doors let one more person into the room, and it's Marie. She's ahead of the schedule of Gdokulken's game of leveling up. We see Gdokulken looking visibly exhausted with scars popping up on his hands and his neck as Marie makes him an offer. Let all the students go and she won't kill him. Pretty simple. Now, Gdokulken makes fun of her fighting style about her using her hands as we see him doing the same thing as he takes control over the remaining students in the room as we see a 20v1. Now, this is where their plan literally comes through. Jordan, Sam, Greg, Emma, Harper, and Bushmaster all emerge from Black Hole, well, I guess you could say his black hole. As they fight the mind control students, my girl Emma flawlessly goes supersize and kicks Gdokulken down. We see Bushmaster holds him down and Harper uses her powers to temporarily take Gdokulken's powers, releasing the rest of the students. Now, did anyone else get major Infinity War vibes when they were on Titan in this scene? Y'all remember when the Avengers held Thanos down from Mantis to put him to sleep? Now we see Marie taunts Gdokulken, telling him that they beat him even with the useless soups, but unfortunately this was a part of his plan as we see he now has control over Marie. Annabeth, now in the room, sees her vision coming true as Marie, under Gdokulken's control, manipulates all of her friends' bodies, slowly killing them. Now we get the typical villain speech, except that now it's coming from Marie. But then a hero arrives. It's Polarity, as he stops Gdokulken, who we know his powers can't control him. Now with Marie back in control, she gets up and explodes Gdokulken's entire body. After doing this, she looks at Polarity and simply says that was for Andre. This was probably my favorite moment of the episode. Gdokulken exploding at Marie's hands was so dope to watch, and Polarity witnessing all of that was just the icing on the cake. Now deep down, I would have loved if Polarity, Marie, and Kate all played a role in killing him together, seeing as though that he personally hurt them the most this season. Now, I want to throw something out there to you all. Now, look, I know Gdokulken needs his body to function in order to puppet other people, but is there a way where now that he is leveled up, where he's able to do like a Charles Xavier Professor X in X-Men Last Stand, where, spoiler alert for the end of that movie, we saw that even though his body was destroyed, he was able to put his consciousness into another person's body. With all that being said, could Gdokulken have done this, meaning that he's still alive? Now, as we enter our final moments of this episode, we see Polarity warns the crew that Vault is coming. He instructs them to escape together and never return. Now, before leaving, we see Emma shares a heartfelt goodbye with Polarity, which again, earlier in the season, I love their combo, as we see that he's going to stay back and fight the good fight for his son, Andre. Now, before she leaves, she gives Greg a kiss, and I'll admit I was wrong. I thought he was an op. I thought he was going to be working for Gdokulken, but he's a good guy. As we see, she kisses him goodbye. Now, he's going to stay. He's not going to go with them because his sister's still on campus. Now, watching them go on a run feels a little bit repetitive. Another school year, another escape plan, but we'll see if season 3 of Gen V, which I am very confident they're going to announce the season 3 sooner rather than later, but in season 3, I can see them possibly returning back to the school again at some point after whatever happens next in The Boys season 5. Now on the road as the new team, the Guardians of Gdokulken, they're looking for Stan Edgar. Which, by the way, I don't know why they don't just drive to his bunker unless they don't remember how to get there. Now, surprisingly, Annabeth is going to stay with them, and she's finally on good terms with her sister Marie, and she even calls her a hero as they hug each other. This is basically the X-Men now, and I'm here for it, man. But the team is about to get even bigger. As the lights around them start flickering, we see Starlight arrives. She's impressed by what they were able to do by taking down Gdokulken as she invites them to join the resistance. Clearly, they accept this offer, forming a super team with the remains of the boys as we see A-Train arrives and he welcomes them to the team. I'm going to be so honest with you all right now. I love this moment for the crew. It's all built to this moment, but it also felt so corny. The episode ends with a rock song playing in the background, and it felt like a 90s Michael Bay movie as everyone is exchanging these classic cheesy smiles. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed so loud at this moment. But getting back to the seriousness of the last moment of the scene, it's safe to assume that season 5 of The Boys is gonna be huge with the new additions of Gen V characters joining the storyline. It's already been confirmed that season 5 takes place 6 months after this finale. I would hope that the first mission they do is to save and rescue the other members of the boys like Frenchie, Kimiko, and Huey as they all come together to stop Homelander and also stop Butcher. Now, as far as my thoughts on this finale, not to play the compare game, but overall, I will say right now, I enjoyed season 1's finale more, and also I enjoyed season 1 as a season overall than season 2, but I will say this finale was still solid overall. If I'm being honest, it was much better than a recent comic book show, Peacemaker. Again, I would say my disappointment or my issues with this finale really kind of center around the underwhelming elements surrounding Gdokulken's plan and how it kind of felt like low stakes in this finale. And sticking with Gdokulken, I hate to admit it, but my fear that I mentioned last week that Ethan wouldn't live up to how Hamish played Gdokulken came true. I just felt like Ethan was more cartoonish and wasn't anywhere near as menacing or as calculating as the villain as Hamish played it. Again, he was the weakest part of this episode for me. And also, I didn't like how Sage was written in this episode and how it ended up that she didn't have a plan B, C, or D to just in case Gdokulken switched on her. But speaking positively, I love seeing the team back together as they will now be known as the Guardians of Gdokulken. I love seeing Kate getting her powers back and her being back in the fold. We have the sisters now being on the same page. And Polarity survived this season. I didn't know if he was going to survive because of how things played out earlier, but he did survive and he keeps the fight on going and he's going to be fighting for his son now, and I love that. Now, as far as the season goes, again, I personally preferred season 1 over season 2. As I mentioned earlier in my breakdowns, it took a while for me to get really invested in the story, especially in the first 3 episodes, which I thought were kind of inconsistent. Don't get me wrong, there were some cool moments in those first 3 episodes, but for me, it wasn't until episode 4 and beyond where the season really kind of found its footing and it really became more focused on the characters and developing the story. And also, I will give props to, again, the writers, how they handled the death of Andre and obviously the death of Chance and how it played into the story. So, again, overall, a really solid season. Just not as good as season 1, but I am happy how things ended with the Gen V characters now being integrated into the boys. So with all that being said, what did you all think about the finale of Gen V season 2? What worked? What didn't work? What were some of your favorite moments, least favorite moments? What do you all hope to see with the future of these characters? What did you think about the season overall? Did you prefer season 1 of Gen V, season 2 of Gen V? Let's talk about it all in the comments below. Now, if you all have made it to this point in the video, I want to take this time to thank you, number one, for watching this video, but also if you watch all of the other videos I've did for this season. I love The Boys universe. I can't wait to see what happens next. But again, I want to thank you all for the support. If you are still here, the special word of the week, put in the comments right now, hashtag Guardians of Gdokulken. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you for watching or listening to my breakdown of the season finale of Gen V. Alrighty, y'all. If you enjoyed my breakdown of the season finale, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. And when you all do so, if you're on YouTube, there's going to be a hype button that pops up, which allows you to hype up the video and spreads it to new viewers, which I would appreciate if you all can do that for your boy. Also, if you all can hit that share button, share this video to anyone and everyone you know that loves talking about The Boys and Gen V, share it, I would appreciate it. And last but not least, if you enjoy yourself, stick around by subscribing to the channel today. Now, if you all are listening to this via podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you all for listening. Leave your thoughts on this episode and the finale and the season in the comments below, but also follow the podcast and leave me a rating and a review as well. Stay tuned for more reviews for new films coming out, new shows, including my coverage coming pretty soon for HBO's It, Welcome to Derry. All right, y'all, don't forget you all are awesome, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.